All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me, Deputy?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can, Judge.
Okay. All right, well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Marcus Thorpe. Today is February 5th. Sorry, give me 1 second, Deputy. Sorry. Oh. Sorry, give me 1 second, Deputy. Okay. Today is February 5th, 2023. This is your first appearance before the Magistrate Court of Clayton County. Ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of things before we get started here today, and just a couple of rules I want to go over with you all. First and foremost, and what is most important, is that we are not here to try your case or take a plea. And what that means is, ladies and gentlemen, is that I am here to read your charges, to go over your bond information, and to make sure that you understand what's going to happen next. I am not here to discuss your case itself, any of the facts. That would be for a later date when you either have a court-appointed attorney or you have hired your own attorney, or if you choose to represent yourself before another judge in either state court or superior court. That's pretty much all I'm here for, is to set the bail on these offenses. I'm authorized to set bail for, to schedule your preliminary hearing, and to determine whether or not you need the assistance of an attorney. So please, ladies and gentlemen, you have the right to remain silent and say nothing. But should you give up this right, anything you say during this proceeding may be used against you if your case does go to trial. During this and all other proceedings, remember, you have the right to the presumption of innocence until the state proves your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to an indictment by a grand jury for most felonies or by accusation for misdemeanors. You have a right to a speedy and public trial by jury. You have the right to see, hear, and cross-examine witnesses who are called to testify against you. You have the right to compel the attendance of witnesses in your own behalf by subpoena. You have the right to testify and offer other evidence in your own defense should you choose to do so. But should you choose not to, no presumption of guilt may be raised. As I mentioned earlier, you also have the right to an attorney to represent. So for those of you who are not represented during the course of today's court date, I am permitted to appoint an attorney to represent you for later on. Now, as far as your bonds go, some of you will be allowed to post what are called unrestricted bonds for your release from jail pending the prosecution of your case. Now, that may be by cash, that may be by commercial or property. If you post a cash bond, someone will deliver the full amount of the bond in cash together with the mandated fees to the sheriff's office, who will then hold it until your final court date, at which time the bond will be returned to the person who posted it. Now, if you use a bonding company that's approved by the sheriff, oftentimes that does come with associated fees, typically anywhere from 10 to 15% of the actual total bond number. And that money is kept by the bonding company. And so as an example, if I tell you your bond is $5,000 here today, and you use a bonding company, you will be responsible, or someone posts on your behalf, with posting a bond in the amount of 10 to 15% to the bonding company. But unlike a cash bond, again, that money cannot be and will not be returned to you. Now, I mentioned there's also a property bond. If a person that you are aware of has equity in their property in the amount of 3 times your bond, they can also bond you out using the deed to their home. An example again would be someone, if your bond again is $5,000 and you know someone who has equity in the amount of $15,000 in their property, they can come down to the sheriff's office and use the deed to their property to post bond for you. Also, some of you all will have special conditions on your bond. Typically, those of you all who are charged with battery, family violence, charges of those nature, criminal trespass, you may have a restriction on your bond that requires you to stay away from a person or a place. Ladies and gentlemen, please abide by those requirements until such time as they are changed at a later date, either here in magistrate court, state, or superior. Your failure to do that can result in additional charges that may add up to either 10 years in prison and a fine of up to $20,000. So of course, I'm sure none of us wants additional charges here today. Now, for family members who will be posting your bond, they will be provided information of your bond amount after we conclude the first appearance today. Please also remember, for those of you all that may or may not have been involved in an altercation involving a family member, and therefore that family member is what is called to be a victim in your case, based on the warrant, and there's a special condition against that person, therefore you are to have no contact with them. They can't come down and make your bond for you. And so if your warrant alleges that you got into it with a husband, wife, cousin, uncle, brother, sister, that person, because you cannot have contact with them, cannot also come down and post bond. There's at least, I believe, one of you all who is charged with an offense for which this court is not authorized by law to set bail. In this event, I will give you a bond hearing date that will be scheduled before a Superior Court judge. And again, I will inform you of that date. If there's anyone here who is currently on active probation, this court is also not authorized to set a bond. Again, your bond can be considered after your probation officer has had an opportunity to determine if they wish to file a warrant for a VOP, usually done at your preliminary hearing. Now, I am going to give you, as I mentioned earlier, each of you a preliminary hearing date here today. And just so you are aware, the purpose of a preliminary hearing is to determine if there is enough evidence or what is called probable cause to justify keeping you detained until such time as your case goes to trial. If, ladies and gentlemen, any of you post bond that I will give you today, your preliminary hearing is automatically waived, and therefore you'll get notice of your court date through the mail with the last known address that you gave us. All right, now before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, if each of you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony or information that you will give here before this court, first appearance February 5th of 2023, be the truth and nothing but the truth to help you guide? And if you do, please say I do. All right, I couldn't hear anyone. Please say I do.
I do.
All right, thank you. All right, ladies, of course, we'll get started with the women first. First up, I have a Miss, I believe it's Nohamin Bisialam. All right, good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
So I have here several charges of which that you've been charged with, beginning with giving a false name, address, date of birth, possession of a weapon or handgun by a person. You've also been charged with prostitution and trafficking of a person for labor or sexual servitude. Now, I've had a chance, ma'am, to review your warrant. I'm actually going to dismiss two charges here. The charges of prostitution and trafficking of a person for labor or sexual servitude. That leaves you with two charges: giving a false name and possession of a weapon during the commission of a crime. And so your total bond is going to be in the amount of $6,500. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe
Yes,
you'll
sir.
be able to make bond?
Yes.
Now, ma'am, are you going to hire your attorney, or are you wishing for the court to appoint you an attorney?
I was gonna hire one.
Okay. So what we're going to do for the time being, ma'am, until such time as you are able to do so, I'm going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney. If at a later date you are ultimately able to hire someone, you can always speak to that attorney and they can make sure that they do what is called a substitution. Okay?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
So let me just take a look at the information you provided. All right, ma'am, based on the information you provided, you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. Your next court date, ma'am, is going to be February 28th for your preliminary hearing, okay?
Okay.
All right, ma'am, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, and you said my bond is 6,000?
That is 6,500.
Okay.
Okay, do you have any other questions, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right, good luck to you.
Um,
Next up, I have Ms. Tara Caldwell.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Ms. Caldwell.
Good morning, sir.
Ms. Caldwell, you are charged with 1 count of battery family violence and 1 count of criminal trespass. Your bond amount is in the total of $7,000. The battery family violence is $3,500. The criminal trespass is also $3,500 for a total of $7,000. You do have
Yes.
special conditions at this time, and that is to stay away from Mr. DeAnthony Caldwell, and also to stay away from the address of 10108 Hemlock Way in Jonesboro, Georgia. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. I have a question when I came.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I say, that's my home office. I work from home and that's my office. I work for the federal government.
Well, unfortunately, ma'am, given the allegations here, if you have items there that you need to obtain at this point, I did check a portion of your bond that will allow the sheriff's office to escort you there to get those items. But at this point, so long as Mr. Caldwell is living at that property, I have to put that into place. Now, if you obtain an attorney or you go before a judge and are able to get that modified, then that will allow you to live there moving forward until your case is resolved, okay? All right. Now, do you plan to hire your own attorney or would you like the court to appoint one?
Hire my own.
Okay. Now, as I told the person before you, until such time as you do that, I am going to go ahead and see if you qualify for court appointment, okay? And then of such time that you do hire your own attorney, you can always have them substitute into your case,
Okay.
okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, I want to confirm here. So you're working right now, is that correct, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I have here that you're making about $4,000 per month.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that job will still be on hold for you once you are out?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Unfortunately, ma'am, you do not qualify for a court-appointed attorney. So again, much like you told me, you will have to go out and hire your own, okay?
Okay.
Now, as I told the person before you, your preliminary hearing date, which will be your next court date, unless you do in fact bond out, will be set for February 28th.
Okay.
And that will be at 8:30 a.m. Okay?
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Caldwell, do you have a question?
No.
All right, thank you. Next up, I have Ms. Brittany Connor.
Hey, Judge.
Good morning, Ms. Connor. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, ma'am. Ms. Connor, I have you charged with 1 count of battery. Your bond is in the amount of $3,500. You do have special conditions as well, and that is to stay away from Ms. Juanette Hagan Weeks, and also to stay away from the address of 9329 Hidden Branch Drive. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Now, do you intend to hire your own attorney or to have the court appoint you one?
I would like the court to appoint me one.
You do qualify, ma'am, for a court-appointed attorney. So I have gone ahead and assigned one to you. Your next court date, ma'am, will be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. Via Zoom, okay?
Okay.
All right, Ms. Connor, do you have any questions for me?
Just one. With the bond, do they do the 10% or do I have to pay the whole thing?
So as I was saying earlier, you do have a couple alternatives. So you can do a cash bond, you can do a property bond, or you can do, as you said, a bonding company. And that bonding company's fee may be anywhere between 10 to 15%.
Okay,
All right, any other questions I can answer for you?
sir, thank you.
All right, Ms. Connor, you have a good day. Good luck to you. Next up, I have Ms. Jasmine Huff.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Huff. Ms. Huff, you are charged with one count of theft by receiving a stolen property in the bond amount of $2,000 and one count of public drunkenness in the amount of $1,000 for a total bond of $3,000. You understand that, ma'am?
I mean, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
All right, do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you like the court to consider an appointment of an attorney, or do you intend to hire your own?
No, sir, I don't need an attorney.
I'm sorry,
No, sir.
would you like me to appoint one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you are not working, is that correct, Ms. Huff?
No, sir, not at the moment.
Okay. So based on that, ma'am, you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney, so I am gonna go ahead and assign you one, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Now, as a result of that, ma'am, your next court date is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. for your preliminary hearing, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Huff, thank you and good luck to you. Next up, I have Ms. Leah Meta Humphrey.
Sir.
Good morning, Ms. Humphrey.
Good morning.
Ma'am, you are charged with one count of prostitution and one count of trafficking of a person for labor or sexual servitude. I did review your charges, ma'am, as alleged by law enforcement here. And after a review of them this morning, I have made the decision to dismiss your charges, okay? Okay, Ms. Humphrey?
Yes.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, thank you, sir. That was terrible.
Yes, ma'am. So what's gonna happen now? If you don't have any pending charges in any other county or any other state, you will be released according to the sheriff's schedule within the next 24 hours, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, that's all I have for you. So unless you have any questions for me, ma'am, that's all I have, and you're free to go.
Thank you, sir. There you go.
Next up, I have Miss Tiana Jefferson.
Hello.
Hi, good morning, Ms. Jefferson.
Good morning.
You are charged with one count of improper lane change, and driving with suspended license. As to the improper lane change, bond is in the amount of $500, and as to the driving with suspended license, your bond amount is $1,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right, ma'am. Do you want to hire a lawyer or do you want a court-appointed attorney?
Neither.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, ma'am, only because, we don't know whether you'll be able to make bond or whether you may need one down the line. Just to protect you, what I'd like to do here today is go ahead, set you for court date, your preliminary hearing, and then also assign you a court-appointed attorney. If ultimately you decide you don't need one, you can let them know that at your next court date if you don't bond out, okay? Your next court date is going to be right now, February 28th at 8:30 a.m. And Ms. Jefferson, if in fact you do bond out, please remember your court date will come to you in the mail, okay?
Okay.
And just one last question I want to ask, according to what you have, Ms. Jefferson, are you currently working?
Yes.
Okay, how much do you earn per month?
About maybe $4,500 a month.
4,500? Okay, so, and I apologize, Ms. Jefferson, but based on what you told me, then unfortunately you don't qualify. And so you would have to hire your own attorney. I don't have the authority to appoint one, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any other questions about anything, Ms. Jefferson?
No, I don't guess so. I was told I was getting a Signature bond, but I guess that's changed.
Unfortunately, ma'am, I cannot. We do not give signature bonds on these kind of charges. So, you've got a fairly reasonable bond here at this time. That's a total for $2,000. And if you're able to make that, as I said, you'll get notice of your next court date in the mail.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Jefferson. Next up, I have Ms. Janae Johnson. Good morning, Ms. Johnson.
Good morning.
Ms. Johnson, you are charged with 1 count of battery. Your bond is in the amount of $3,500. You also have special conditions as well, Ms. Johnson, and that's to stay away from an individual by the name of Benjamin Atkinson. And you're also to stay away from the address of 5310 Kirk Drive. And that is, I believe, where this was alleged to have happened here in Clayton County. Now, ma'am, if that's where you stay, you do have, as I checked the special condition, you have the right to contact the sheriff's office, and they will escort you there if there are items you need to get there until this condition is changed or your case is closed. Do you understand that? Do you have any questions, Ms. Johnson, about what I just advised you?
No.
Okay. So again, unless you're with an officer, please stay away from that address and please stay away from Mr. Atkinson. Now as to your bond, Ms. Johnson, do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes.
As far as a court-appointed attorney, ma'am, are you going to hire your own, or would you like the court to appoint you an attorney?
You all can appoint me to attorney.
Okay. I see you're working. How much do you earn per month?
Not sure.
Is it kind of up and down?
Yes.
All right. Based on that information, Ms. Johnson, I am going to go ahead and appoint you an attorney. Your next court date, unless you make bond, will be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. If you make bond, however, please be on the lookout in the mail for your next court date, and it will go to the last known address that you provided when you were taken into custody. Do you have any questions, Ms. Johnson?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Good luck to you. Next up, I have Ms. Brandy Lynn Miles. Are you Ms. Miles?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Miles, you are charged with 1 count of simple battery. Your bond is in the amount of $3,500. You have special conditions, and those are to stay away from Miss Micaiah Perkins, and then also to stay away from the address of 6833 Bent Creek Drive in Rex, Georgia. Now, I will tell you, Ms. Miles, if that's your residence, please, until such time as this bond is either modified or your case is closed, stay away from Ms. Perkins and stay away from that address. If you have items there that you need, please contact the sheriff's office. And they will escort you there to get those items. Do you understand that, Ms. Miles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as the bond of $3,500, do you believe you'll be able to make bond, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Do you wish to hire your own attorney, or would you like the court to appoint you an attorney, ma'am?
Court appointed is fine.
What sort of work do you do, Ms. Miles?
I work with the VA from home.
Do you know if that job will still be available for you once you make bond?
Yes.
Do you have any children? Ms. Miles, can you hear me?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. And I see here you're married as well. Is that correct also?
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, based on the information that you provided, Ms. Miles, you do not qualify for a court-appointed attorney. And so if you wish to have one for these charges, you will have to hire your own. Okay, Ms. Miles?
Yes, sir.
All right, ma'am. Is there any other questions you have for me?
You said I can't go back to my property. How am I supposed to work?
Well, and so that's why I was mentioning to you earlier. So as of right now, this is your first appearance. This condition can change, or if your case is going to close. So once you are able to hire an attorney, I would discuss that with your attorney, and they can advise you as to the ways in which you may be able to amend this bond to allow you to go back to that residence. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Miles. Anything else I can answer for you?
That's it.
All right, Ms. Miles. You have a good day and good luck to you. Next up, I have Ms. Jabrice Nicholson. Are you Ms. Nicholson?
This is Miss Montez, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, Deputy. And are you Ms. Montez Rojas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, I see here that you are charged with 1 count of battery and your bond is in the amount of $3,500. You do have special conditions, Ms. Montez, and that is to stay away from the individual you are, alleged to have been in an argument or assault with, a victim by the name of William Bunton, B-U-N-T-O-N. Do you understand that, Ms. Montez? I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, as far as your bond in the amount of $3,500, you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes, sir.
Your next court date, Ms. Montez, should you not be able to make your bond, will be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. If you do in fact make bond, then please remember that your next court date will be sent to you in the mail at your last known address, okay?
Okay.
Now,
Yes,
as
sir.
far as an attorney, are you currently working, Ms. Montez?
No.
Well,
But,
Ms. Montez, to protect you, I understand that you didn't fill out the paperwork, but I am gonna go ahead and appoint you an attorney. If you desire to not have an attorney representing you, then when they come to see you, of course, you have the right to tell them so and move forward on your own, or to hire your own attorney if you so choose. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. I do have my own attorney.
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir. I do have my own attorney.
Okay, so since they're not here today, what I've done, I've gone ahead and just filled out the paperwork saying that, we'll give you a court appointed, and then please let your attorney know of your next court date. And then what they can do is they can substitute in for that court appointed as you get to your next court date. Do you understand that, Ms. Montez?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Montez. Well, I don't have anything else for you, so unless you have any questions for me, I believe that's all I have for you, ma'am.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Jabrice Nicholson. Good morning. Are you Ms. Nicholson?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholson, you are charged with 1 count of simple battery and a bond amount of $3,500 and 1 count of criminal trespass and the bond amount of $1,500 for a total bond of $5,000. You do have special conditions. The first is to stay away from Mr. Andre Wilson, and then also to stay away from the address of 11562 Registry Boulevard. Now, Ms. Nicholson, if that's your home address, please, when and if you do make bond, contact the sheriff's office and they can escort you to get those items or any items that you have there until your case is closed or resolved, or until you amend this bond. Do you understand that, Ms. Nicholson?
Yes,
Okay, because the last thing you want is to go there while this is in place, and then you'll be subject to new charges. Do you understand that, Ms.?
yes,
Okay. Now, as far as that bond amount, do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
yes.
And as far as an attorney, would you like the court to appoint you an attorney, or are you gonna hire your own?
Appointed.
I'm sorry?
What appointed?
Now, Ms. Nicholson, based on the information that you provide, unfortunately, you do not qualify for a court-appointed attorney, so you will have to hire your own. I've gone ahead and set your next court date. Your next court date is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. Via Zoom. Now, if, again, as I told the young lady before you, if you do in fact make your bond prior to February 28th, then what'll happen is you will get your new court date via the mail at the last known address that you provided. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
All right. Well, Ms. Nicholson, if you don't have any questions of me, that's all I have for you. And good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Ms. Stephanie Ogan. Are you Ms.
Yes.
Ogan?
Yes, I am.
All right. Good morning, ma'am. Ms. Ogan, you're charged with one count of theft by shoplifting, and you're given a bond in the amount of $2,000, and one count of obstruction of an officer for a bond in the amount of $2,000 as well, for a total bond of $4,000. You do have a special condition to stay away from the address of 7050 Georgia Highway 85 in Riverdale, Georgia. Do you understand that, Ms. Ogan?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am? Okay. Do you believe you'll be able to make your bond, Ms. Ogan?
I hope so, because I have an emergency.
Okay. Based on the information that you provided, ma'am, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney, okay?
All right.
Now, if you make bond, your next court date will come in the mail. However, if you do
Right.
not, the next court date I have for you will be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. Do you understand that, Ms. Ogun?
Yes.
All right, ma'am. Well, if you don't have any questions for me, that's all I have for you. And good luck to you, ma'am. Next up, I have Miss Nicole Sissel, S-I-S-S-L-E. Are you Miss Sissel?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Ms. Sissel, you're charged with one count of striking a parked vehicle and one count of DUI alcohol less safe. The striking a parked vehicle has a bond amount in the amount of $1,500. The DUI less safe, a bond amount in the amount of $3,500 for a total bond of $5,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, Ms. Sissel?
Can I make my own bond? Because they went in my house and got, I know I can't say too much, but they went in my house and got my wallet, but no cell phones. I can't call nobody.
Oh, if you happen to have an item, a credit card or a debit card, I know they do allow that. But that is something you want to further discuss with the sheriff. But yes, ma'am, if you got it, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is my first time ever getting locked up. So with this 5,000, what is that, 500, or do you know? That I had to pay? Or do I have to pay the whole 5? So I'm new to this, so that's why I'm asking, sir.
No, I understand. And so let me ask that question for me again. Let me make sure I understand.
I'm asking, you said the total is 5,000 for the bond?
Yes, ma'am.
So how much do I have to pay? I have to probably go to 5. Do I have to pay the whole 5,000 or is it 500? I'm just trying to get an understanding on how to
It
bond.
depends on the process by which you intend to bond it. If you want to try to pay it in cash, then the bond amount is the total 5,000. If you want to go through a bonding company, then you would only have to pay 10 to 15% to the bonding company, but they keep it, and then they will assist you in bonding out. So it really just depends on the process by which you want to do. Okay?
Oh, so if I bond myself out and don't go through the bond, I have to pay the whole 5,000?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
If I go through a bonding company, it's 15% or whatever.
Yes, ma'am, and that will be
Okay.
paid to the bonding company, but again, they then keep that amount.
Oh, they'll keep the 15%.
Yes,
I won't get
ma'am.
it back.
That's correct.
So I know you said something about a deed or something like that, but I have to have somebody to go to my house. I don't have no numbers to get my deed if I want to do a bond deed.
So that is
My
the
dad-
third type. So you have a cash bond, which we've discussed. You have the commercial bond, which we've discussed through a bonding company, and you're talking about what is called a property bond. In that situation, you would need to get a copy of either your deed or someone else's deed to their home, and be able to show that you have 3 times the amount of your bond in equity in the property. And so you would, if you, as your home, for example, you'd have to have at least $15,000 in equity to be able to use the deed on your property.
Right. So when I go to court, will y'all automatically take that from my equity regardless, and I won't get it back off the deed?
Well, they just take the deed. They don't actually take the equity out. The only time that would happen is, so let's say you put up your deed, the sheriff holds on to it. If you were to then make bond based on that, and then you don't show up to court, they can then execute and sell that property to get what is owed to them.
But when I go to court, I get my deed back.
Say that one more time.
When I come to court, would I get my deed back? To my
No, ma'am.
property?
After the case is closed, then you would come back to the sheriff's office and they would assist you with that.
Okay.
Okay? Did I answer all your questions, Ms. Sissel?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So as far as a court-appointed attorney, Ms. Sissel, do you plan to hire one, or would you like the court to appoint?
I'm gonna get my own attorney.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, ma'am, until such time, because these are serious charges that you do hire your own, just for today's purposes, I am going to appoint you one. And then let me ask you this. I see you're working. You work for the
I work
state,
at the-
is that right? Okay, how much are you
I work
making
for-
per month?
My grocery per month is probably 4,000 or something like that.
About 5,000?
Salary. Yeah, with taxes and stuff, so it's probably 4,500 or something.
Okay, okay. Well,
Something like that.
so based on what you are providing me, unfortunately, ma'am, you don't qualify for a court-appointed attorney anyhow. So you will have to hire your own. But I would like to let you know, though, in the meantime, until such time as you make that bond, your next court date is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Now, when and if you make that bond, again, the next court date will be sent to your last known address that you provided via the mail. Do you understand that, Ms. Sissel? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Are you Miss Sony, S-O-N-I?
I'm sorry, Ms. Thigpen.
I'm sorry?
Thigpen, T-H-I.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
LaShonda Thigpen.
Oh, Miss Thigpen, okay. Give me 1 second, Miss Thigpen. All right, and it's Miss LaShonda Thigpen, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Thigpen, you are charged with 1 count of criminal trespass and 1 count of simple battery. The bond in the amount for the criminal trespass is $2,000. The bond in the amount of the simple battery is $3,500 for a total bond of $5,500. You do have special conditions. The first is to stay away from Ms. Jada Thigpen. You're also not to return to the address 1403 Pebble Ridge Drive in Hampton, Georgia. Now, excuse me, Ms. Thigpen, if in fact that is where you reside, please understand, you are to stay away from Ms. Thigpen, Jada, stay away from that address until 1 of 2 things happen. Either 1, your case is resolved and closed, or 2, you speak to a judge, either with an attorney or without, and this bond is modified. The last thing you want to do, Ms. Thigpen, is to violate this bond because you go to that address where you speak to Jada Thigpen, you get additional charges. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Jada doesn't live there. She got all her stuff that day and took everything, and she said she wasn't returning. I have 2 minor children there with me.
Okay.
So,
Well, since Ms. Thigpen Jada is not present here today, I don't doubt you being honest with me, but he's not present here. I have to protect both you all as well, both you and Ms. Thigpen, and put this in place. Now, that would be the reason for when that next court date comes, to have either your court appointed or your hired attorney to make the judge aware of that, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, again, Ms. Thigpen, your total bond is in the amount of $5,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, Ms. Thigpen?
Hopefully, yes, sir.
Are you gonna hire your own attorney, or would you like the court to appoint you?
The court to appoint me, please.
Based on the information you provided, Ms. Thigpen, you do qualify for court-appointed attorney. Your next court date is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. Now, if you do ultimately make bond on this case, Ms. Thigpen, your next court date will be sent to you via mail, okay? All right, Ms. Thigpen, if you don't have any other questions for me, that's all I have, ma'am. Thank you. Next, I have Deborah Lon Thompson. Are you Ms. Thompson?
Sir.
All right, Ms. Thompson, you're charged with several counts here. First, driving under the influence, that has a bond amount of $3,500. You are charged with impeding traffic, the bond amount of $500. Possession of marijuana more than 1 ounce, that has a bond amount of $1,500. Violation of Georgia Controlled Substances Act under Schedule 1 with a bond amount of $3,500. And then another count of possession of a Schedule 1 violation of controlled substances that also carries a bond amount of $3,500. So your total bond amount here is $12,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, ma'am?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay. Are you currently working, Ms. Thompson?
Yes, I'm a salary manager.
I'm sorry.
Salary manager.
Okay, about how much are you making per month?
I'm overqualified. I'll just get my own attorney.
Okay, but for the record, I do have to ask, how much are you making per month?
I would say about $6,000.
How much?
6,000.
60, okay. Yes, ma'am, you are correct. You do not qualify, so you will have to hire your own attorney for these charges. Now, what I will tell you, if you make bond, obviously, as I've told everyone before you, that next court date will be sent to your last known address. If you do not, and you remain in custody, your next court date is going to be March 1st at 8:30 a.m. here via Zoom. Do you understand that? All right. Do you have any questions for me, Ms. Thompson?
Sir, thank you.
All right, Ms. Thompson. I believe that's all I have for you then. Good luck to you, ma'am. All right, Deputy, I believe that's all of the females I have.
Yes, Your Honor, that's all the females.
Okay. What's your name, sir?
Carter Charles.
I'm sorry.
Carter Charles.
All right, Mr. Charles, you are charged with 1 count of aggravated battery upon a public officer. Mr. Carter, I was reviewing your criminal history here, and it appears that you may be on active probation. Now, as a result of that, and under the Georgia law, I am not permitted to grant you bond at this point. So you are, at this point, under what is called a no bond status. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So you're gonna get 2 court dates here today. Your first court date, which is going to be for your preliminary hearing, is going to be March 1st. Okay, and that's gonna be 2023, obviously, at 8:30 a.m. Now, you're also going to get a bond hearing date for them to review your bond. That date is going to be March 3rd of 2023 at 8:30 a.m. Okay? Any questions for me, sir?
So
All right,
basically, I only got
so
one.
that is all I have for you. Good luck to you. Are you Mr. Nicholas Kaysen? Yes? Okay. Mr. Kaysen, you're charged with 1 count of battery. Your bond is in the total amount of $3,500. You do have special conditions as well, and they are as follows: to stay away from Mr. Xavier Kaysen, to also stay away from the address 30 Seabrook Court in Jonesboro, Georgia. Now, Mr. Kaysen, this is where you reside. Please understand, you are not to go to that address on your own or to speak to Mr. Kaysen. If there are items there that you need until this case is closed or until your bond is modified, please contact the sheriff's office and they will escort you. Do you understand that? Okay. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, Mr. Kaysen?
Yes, sir.
Give me 1 second, Mr. Kaysen. Now, Mr. Kaysen, as to your case, are you going to hire your own attorney, or would you like the court to appoint you an attorney?
Say that one more time.
Would you like to hire your own attorney, or would you like the court to appoint you one?
The court.
Okay. Let's see. How much do you earn per month, Mr. Kaysen?
On work.
All right, Mr. Kaysen, based on what you provided me, the information, you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney, so I am gonna go ahead and appoint you an attorney. Your next court date, Mr. Kaysen, is going to be for your preliminary hearing, February 28th at 8:30 a.m. As I've told everyone before you, so should you make bond prior to that date, Mr. Kaysen, your next court date will be sent to you in the mail at the last known address that we have for you on file at the sheriff's office. Otherwise, that next court date again will be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. Do you have any other questions for me, Mr. Kaysen? All right, sir. Well, good luck to you. Next up, I have Mr. Monte Donnell Davis.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Davis, you're charged with 1 count of battery. Your bond is in the amount of $3,500. You do have a special condition, and that's to stay away from Mr. Randolph Richardson. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you
Yes,
believe
sir.
you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes, sir.
Would you like the court to appoint your attorney, or are you gonna hire your own?
Court can appoint me one, sir.
And it says here that you make about $800 a month, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I do remodeling work.
Okay. So you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. I've gone ahead and assigned you an attorney who will speak to you about your case. Your next court date, Mr. Davis, Mr. Davis, is going to be February 28th, and that's going to be at 8:30 a.m.
Okay.
for your preliminary hearing. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about anything?
No, sir.
All right, sir. Well, if you don't have any questions for me, that's all I have for you, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm
And are you
Thanks
Mr.
for
Quincy
asking.
Harris?
Yes, sir, I am.
Harris. You are charged with one count of simple battery. Your bond is the amount of $5,000. You do have special conditions, Mr. Harris, and those are, excuse me, to stay away from Ms. Jasmine Hudson, to also stay away from the address 852 Garden Walk Boulevard in College Park, Georgia. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harris, if that's where you reside, please understand for not to have contact with her, Ms. Hudson, or to go to that address. So if you have items there, please contact the sheriff's office so that you can go there and get those items. Otherwise, you do subject yourself to a supercharge. Do you understand that, Mr. Harris?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, Mr. Harris?
It's kind of steep, Your Honor. I mean, I heard some 3,500s. I was hoping to be in that area because I do have 5 kids at that same location, 12 and under girls, and one son, 15-year-old. And I don't make too many hours at Publix, Your Honor. I do work in the meat department, but I'm down to like only 20 hours a week. So I probably won't be able to make that bond, but I'm hoping that I could.
Okay. Well, Mr. Harris, based on just the review of everything, the allegation, history that I was provided, I do think this is reasonable. I understand that we may disagree, but right now it's going to remain at $5,000. So, you know, I am appointing you an attorney based on the information you provided, court-appointed attorney. So, I mean, that would be their opportunity to, you know, discuss with you the possibilities you have for reducing that bond. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right now, your next court date, unless you make bond, is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions I can answer for you, sir?
Sir, thank you. You've been a
All
great
right. Good
help
luck
to
to you,
me.
Mr. Harris.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, I have Mr. Richard Henley. Are you Mr. Henley?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Your Honor, sir.
Morning. Mr. Henley, you are charged with one count of possession of drug-related objects. Your bond is in the amount of $1,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond? Sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you like the court to appoint you attorney, or are you gonna hire your own?
Appointment, sir.
Okay. Based on the information you provided, sir, I am gonna go ahead and appoint you an attorney for your next court date. And that next court date is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. here via Zoom. Do you understand that, Mr. Henley?
Sir. Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Well, if you don't have any other questions for me, I believe that's all I have for you. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, I have Mr. Charlie Howard.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Howard, you're charged with one count of possession of marijuana. Your bond is in the amount of $1,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes.
Okay. Your next court day is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. That's your preliminary hearing. If in fact ultimately you do make bond, your next court date of sort will be sent out to you via mail to the last known address that you provided upon being arrested. Are you currently working?
Yes.
Okay. How much are you earning per month?
About 1,500.
Okay. So based on that, I'm gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney to help you with your case, and they will be available for you to discuss your case prior to your next court date. Okay, Mr. Howard?
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Ronnie Humphreys. Oh, excuse me, I believe Mr. Humphreys is out to bond. Yes. Next up, I have Mr. Keith Allen Jones. Are you Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Jones, you are charged with one count possession of a drug-related object. That bond is $500. You're charged with one count of theft by receipt of stolen property. That bond is $4,500, and then one count of false imprisonment for $5,000 in bond. And so your total bond is $10,000. You also, Mr. Allen, have a special condition, and that is to stay away from her. I believe her name is Heather Rayon, Reyonne. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. And so essentially what that means, sir, is you cannot have any contact with her at all. your doing so may subject you to additional charges. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir, I
Okay.
understand.
Do you believe you'll be able to make your bond?
Hopefully, sir.
Okay. Now, based on the information that you provided to me, sir, I'm gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney to help you with your case, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Your next court date is going to be March 1st. And that's going to be for your preliminary hearing. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And that's gonna be at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom, all right?
Sir, thank you.
All right, do you have any other questions for me, sir?
No, sir.
All right, sir, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Are you Mr. Joseph, I believe it's Lagarde?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lagarde, you're charged with one count of criminal trespass for a bond amount of $2,000, one count of loitering prowling, for a bond amount of $1,000, one count of theft by taking for a bond amount of $2,000, and then you were finally charged with possession of marijuana over an ounce. Now, I have gone ahead after review of the facts of your warrant and dismissed the charge for possession of marijuana, but that does give you a total bond for the criminal trespass of 2, the loitering for 1, and the theft by taking for 2, for a total bond amount of $5,000. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
I should be.
All right. Are you going to hire your own attorney, or would you like the court to appoint you?
Court appointed.
Based on the information you provided, sir, you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. So I'm gonna go ahead and assign you one. Your next court date, sir, is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. here via Zoom. Now, again, should you make bond, that next court date will be sent to you in the last known address. Otherwise, if you remain in custody, as I noted earlier, that will be the next court date you still have. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you don't have any other questions of me, that's all I have for you, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Mr. I believe this is Davis Lee, Davis Lamar Lee. Are you Mr. Lee?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Yes,
Mr. Okay, Mr. Lee, you're charged with one count of criminal trespass. Your bond is in the amount of $2,000. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Now, you are to stay away. You're going to have a special condition here, and that's to stay away from 6358, and that's Old Dixie Road. That is the American Inn and Suites. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm gonna remind you, sir, that means if you go into that property again with this bond in place, you are subjecting yourself to additional charges. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Would you like the court to appoint an attorney, or are you going to hire your own, sir?
Appoint me an attorney.
Based on the information you provided, sir, you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. And your next court date is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sir. Well, that's all I have for you. If you don't have any questions for me, good luck to you, sir. Next up, I have Mr. Kamal Little. Are you Mr. Little?
Yes, sir.
Little?
Good morning.
One second here, Mr. Little. All right, Mr. Little, you're charged with violation of Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Bond for that is in the amount of $3,000. You're charged with possession of a weapon during the commission of a crime. Your bond amount there is $5,000. You are also charged with improper U-turn. The bond amount is $500. You're charged with suspending a license. Bond amount is $1,500. no insurance, $1,000, and finally, no tag or expired or invalid tag, bond amount being $500. That brings your total bond here to, let's see, 8, 9, 10, $10,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bonds, sir?
Sir.
Are you going to hire your own attorney, or would you like the court to appoint you one?
Court appointed.
All right, based on the information you provided, sir, you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. Now I'm gonna go ahead and set your next court date. And your next court date, sir, is gonna be March 1st. And that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Now, if you were to make, that's gonna be your prelim date. So if you do make bond between now and then, of course, that next court date will be sent to you via your last known address that you provided. Okay, Mr. Little? Do you have any
Can I ask you
questions
a
for me?
Sir, can you read back that
All right,
first
so I
charge?
believe that's all I have for you then, sir. Good luck to you.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
When you were reading the first charge, it broke up. I couldn't hear what you said on the first charge.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm sorry. That first charge was violation of a Georgia Controlled Substances Act, essentially that you were in possession of an illegal narcotic or drug.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, sir. Next up, I have Mr. Eric McKinnis. Are you Mr. McKinnis?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. McKinnis, you are charged with 1 count of failure to properly use your headlights. Your bond amount is $500. And then you're also charged with possession of marijuana over an ounce. That bond amount is $1,500 for a total bond of $2,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you gonna hire your own attorney, or do you want the court to appoint you one?
Court.
Based on the information you provided, sir, you do qualify for a court-appointed attorney. I am gonna go ahead and do that for you. Your next court date is going to be February 28th, and that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Now, again, if you make bond between now and February 28th, that next court date will be sent to you in the last known address. Otherwise, your attorney will come see you there in the custody of Clayton County Jail. Do you have any other questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, so I believe that's all I have for you then. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Are you Mr. Nash?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nash, you are charged with 1 count of battery family violence. Your bond for that is $7,500. You're charged with obstruction of an officer. Your bond amount for that is $5,000. And you're also charged on a second separate incident against the same victim in the amount of $7,500 for a total bond amount of $15,500. Do you understand that, sir?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You are to stay away from this alleged victim, Miss Angel Beatty. You're also to stay away from this address at Sherwood Drive in Jonesboro, Georgia. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, it says here that you make about $2,400 per month.
Yes, sir.
What sort of work do you do, sir?
I'm a supervisor at Cold Storage in Conley, Georgia.
Do you know if that job will be available to you if and when you're released?
I don't contact them, so.
I'm sorry?
I contacted them.
Okay. Do you have any children?
Yes, sir. I have a 3-month-old. I have a 3-year-old. I have a 5-year-old. And I just lost my mom probably about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I was gonna ask, could you give me a reasonable bond so I can get out, so I can go back to work? Cause you know, I've been at the job going on 3 years, and I don't moved all the way up to senior lead, and with a little, you know, a lighter bill.
And I understand that, Mr. Nash, and I do, you know, empathize or sympathize with what you're telling me, but I do have to take into account, you know, all of the information I have before me as it relates to these allegations, your criminal history, and based on that, I am going to have to, you know, keep the bond where it is. And, you know, based on what I have, I do believe that is a reasonable bond. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
But what I will do is, based on everything you've told me so far, I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney. And I'll go ahead and set your next court date. And your next court date is going to be February 28th at 8:30 a.m., okay?
Sir. So what's that total? 15,000, you say?
15,500.
Thank you.
All right, give me 1 second, sir. Are you Mr. Pegram?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Pegram, you are charged with 1 count of obstruction of an officer, 1 count of DUI, alcohol less safe, and 1 count of disorderly conduct. The obstruction of an officer has a bond amount in the total of $2,000. The disorderly conduct has a bond amount in the amount of $1,500. Now, Mr. Pegram, I did review the information provided to me by the officer involving their allegations of the driving with influence of alcohol. Based on the information that they provided, I do not believe that they had probable cause for an arrest for that charge. As a result, I have dismissed that. So your only remaining charges are the disorderly conduct and the obstruction. Now, let me be clear. That doesn't mean that the prosecutor's office can't bring it back. But for the time being, it has been dismissed, okay? Now, Mr. Pegram, again, your total bond right now is going to be $3,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Are you currently working, Mr. Pegram?
Yeah, I work at Ace Hardware.
Okay, about how much do you earn per month?
About $1,200.
Okay. Based on that, Mr. Pegram, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney to help you with your case. And your next court date, Mr. Pegram, is going to be February 28th. And that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Okay, Mr. Pegram?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Pegram?
Okay.
All right, sir. Well, good luck to you. Next up, I have Mr. Lou Peters. Are you Mr. Peters?
Oh, you say Mr. Peters?
Yes, what's your last name?
Davion Smith.
Damian Smith.
Sorry, Your Honor, Peters, can we do Peters last? Because he a little mentally challenged, so.
Yeah,
can we
yes,
do
sir.
him
That's
last?
no problem. And you said you're
Okay,
Mr.
thank you.
Smith?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Smith, you are charged with 1 count of violation of Georgia Controlled Substances Act. Your bond amount is $1,500 for that. You are charged with possession of drug-related objects. Your bond amount is $500 for that. You are charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, and finally, theft by receipt of stolen property. Your bond amount for that is $5,000. Your total bond right now, sir, is $6,000. I want to tell you the firearm charge I have dismissed. As I told the gentleman before you, Mr. Pegram, that doesn't mean that ultimately the prosecutor cannot bring the charge back. But as of right now, with the information I have before me, I have dismissed it at this point. Do you understand that?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Now, your next court date, sir, is going to be March 1st at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom for your preliminary hearing. If you do make bond between now and then, of course, your next court date will be sent to you via mail. Do you have any questions for me?
How much you said the bond was?
$6,000.
6,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Are you currently working?
We're looking for a job at the time, but no, I'm not.
Okay. So based on that, Mr. Smith, I'm going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney to assist you with your case, okay?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
What is my first time being in here?
As far as what your bond amount should be?
Yeah, this is my first time being in here.
So, I mean, what is your question about that?
I mean, what I go about how, well, I can't go about that. Never mind. Yeah, man.
You sure, Mr.? And I want to try to answer it. What question did you have?
No, this is my first time being locked up. And I'm asking, like, do they don't count for nothing? Like, see, I don't get no,
But based on the allegations and the charges here, I also have to take that into account. You know, if you believe that bond amount is high, or it's something that you would like to have, you know, altered or reduced or diminished in some way, you know, that will be the conversation that you'll have with your attorney when he's assigned to come out to speak to you, okay?
Oh, but you said the bond is 6,000, right?
Right. Right now it's 6,000, but you know, again, you'll be able to have that reconsidered once your attorney comes to speak with you.
Okay.
All right. Anything else I can answer for you, sir?
No, it's my first time being here. I don't know what to do.
Well, and again, unfortunately, as the judge, I'm not allowed to give you legal advice, but that will be where the court-appointed attorney can be of help.
All right.
Mr. Smith, thank you. Next up, I have, I believe this is Mr. Christopher Tanner. Or are you Mr. Sony?
Hey. Yeah, Sony.
One second. Okay, Mr. Sony, you're charged with one count of prostitution and pandering. Your bond amount is in the total of $2,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond, Mr. Sony?
Yes, I do.
Are you currently, okay, you're currently working. So Mr. Sony, based on the information you provided, you do not qualify for a court-appointed attorney, so I cannot assist you in that way. Your next court date, Mr. Sony, is going to be February 28th, and that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. If in fact, Mr. Sony, you do make your bond between now and then, of course, your next court date will be sent to you via mail at your last known address, okay?
Okay.
All right, sir. If you don't have any questions for me, that's all I have for you.
Yeah, actually, I just started my job 6 months before, so I really could not able to find the attorney myself.
Well, I guess my question, are you asking for me to reconsider the bond?
Yes.
Well, sir, unfortunately, based on what I have, I think that's a more than reasonable bond. So, you know, if you would like it to be reconsidered and can afford to go ahead and speak to an attorney, that would probably be a better method to have that done. But at this point, it's going to stay where it is, okay? All right, thank you. All right, I have Mr. Tanner being out to bond. Are you Mr. Terry, Travis Terry?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Terry,
Yes.
You're charged with one count of driving with suspended license, no tail lights, and then one count of violation of Georgia Controlled Substances Act. As it relates to the suspended license, you have a bond amount in $1,500. As to the tail lights, $500, and as to the drug charge, $4,000. Your total bond amount is $6,000. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yes.
Are you currently working, Mr. Terry?
Yes.
And how much are you
Yes,
making
I am.
per week? Excuse me, per month?
About 2,500. 2,500.
Do your children live with you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Are you married?
No, I'm not.
Mr. Terry, I am going to go ahead and appoint you an attorney to speak with you about your case. Your next court date, Mr. Terry, is going to be March 1st. And that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. for your preliminary hearing via Zoom. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Terry?
No, no questions.
All right, sir. Well, that's all. That's all I can for you, sir. Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Eugene Turner. Are you Mr. Turner?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Turner, you're charged with one count of drug-related objects, possession of them in the bond amount of $500, and one count of theft by receipt of stolen property in the bond amount of $4,000 for a total bond of $4,500. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
Yeah, sure. Might. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You wouldn't recommend an OR bond. I ain't never been in trouble.
Mr. Turner, are you currently working?
Yeah, I do side work, landscaping.
Okay, about how much are you making per month, sir?
It's like a couple thousand a month.
I'm sorry, Mr. Turner?
You said a month? How much I make a month?
Yes.
In landscaping, just a couple thousand.
Okay. So I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed attorney based on the information you provided to me to assist you with your case. Your next court date is going to be your preliminary hearing date, and that's going to be March 1st. And that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Via Zoom, okay?
Right.
All right. Well, if you don't have any questions for me, Mr. Turner, that's all I have for you.
What, you wouldn't recommend an OR bond? Ain't never been in
No, sir, I
trouble.
cannot. Thank you. Good morning, are you Mr. Williams, or good afternoon?
Good afternoon, yes, sir, Mr. Williams.
All right, Mr. Keith Williams, you're charged with one count of theft by conversion. Your bond amount is in the amount of $5,000, sir. Do you believe you'll be able to make bond?
I'm not really sure because I just, had recently bonded out another jail yesterday.
Okay.
Well, not yet. So I was
So
asking.
what I'm gonna do, sir, is I am gonna I'm gonna appoint an attorney to assist you with your case. The one count of theft by conversion.
Your Honor, do you think you could lower it maybe about 1,000?
And unfortunately, I'm gonna have the bond remain where it is, okay?
Yes, sir.
Your next court date, sir, is going to be March 1st of 2023, and that's gonna be at 8:30 a.m., okay?
Yes, sir. So with that bond amount, it's about $500, $600.
All right, Mr. Williams, do you have any other questions for me?
Yes, sir. I said with that bond amount you gave me, that's about $500 to $600.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Well, if you're planning to go through a bonding company, a commercial bond, it would be about 10 to 15%. So I would say a minimum of $500, and a maximum would be about $750, $800. But again, that would be through the bonding company. They will give you the exact amount.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Williams. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, now, Peter, say your first name and your last name.
All right. Can you tell me your name?
Lee Peters.
Okay, you're Mr. Peters? Okay. Mr. Peters, you are charged with one count of criminal trespass, and your bond amount is $3,500, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Peters, are you working right now?
I ain't working.
Okay, so I am gonna hire an attorney to help you with your case, okay?
Okay.
And Mr. Peters, your next court date is going to be February 28th. And that's gonna be at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Okay, Mr. Peters? All right, Mr. Peters, do you have any questions for me about your case?
Any questions?
I'm ready to go home.
Okay. Well, if you don't have any other questions, Mr. Peters, that's all I have for you, sir. Thank you.
Sit right there, Mr. Peters. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. That'll be all for the jail side, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. You have a good one.
Take care, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Dog 6, moving dog 8.